Welcome to another edition of Python for You. This morning I wanted to introduce two interesting features of loops in Python, the break and else. You might wonder, well, break makes sense. You can have a loop and then on some condition you want to break out of it. What about else? Well, interesting thing about Python, you can do both. So I have a loop here and I have another loop and then I have an if clause down here. So in the outer loop I'm going in the range 2 to 10. In the inner loop I'm looking for factors, so I'm just seeing if I can have a way of factoring that number that I'm at now. So I'm going to go from the range 2 to the n that I'm currently at, and then if I have a factor, I'm going to print this factor information here. Then I'm going to break this inner loop, so I'm just not going to keep going because I'm only looking for one factor. So then I'll go back and keep going on the outer loop. Now notice this else on the inner loop. So I go to the range 2 to n. If I don't find anything, so I never go into this print statement here, if I keep going, never break, and just break out of this inner for loop, I'm going to trigger the else because I ran to the end of the range and now I have an else. So I can put an else clause so that if my loop doesn't trigger any of the behavior I was interested in, I can do something else. So when I run this, let's run the whole thing, and you see what's going to happen here. It's going to come in here, and 2 is a prime number because 2 to 2 I didn't get into here. Likewise 3, but 4 found a factor, 5 didn't, and I broke into the else statement, and so on. So you can see that you can do both breaks to break a loop if you don't want to continue iterating, if you've already satisfied whatever condition you want. And you can have an else for when you're looping and you don't want to have nothing happen. You want to make sure something happens even if your loop condition was never met. So interesting piece of Python there. It's something that I hadn't really thought about much because doing this in Smalltalk, the language I'm more familiar with, requires, different syntax than this, and it's not kind of the way I think about doing things, but very interesting construct. I kind of like it. So that's about it for today. Until next time, have fun with Python.